What makes you think you would be qualified for this job? If you were me, why would you hire you? What would you consider to be your greatest weakness? What are you looking for in a job? I noticed there's a gap in your work history. Why is there a gap there? What was going on and what did you do during that time? Can you tell me why you left your last workplace? The Google interview process, that they've got some bizarre questions that they ask. Like, how many golf balls could you fit in a school bus? How much should you charge to wash all the windows in Seattle? Can you tell me why manhole covers are round? How many times a day does a clock's hands overlap? Interview is the last portion before you get hired for a job. As the final deciding factor of whether you get the job, a lot rides on the interview, and it can be a very nervous and stressful situation. So I've got some tips for you that I hope are going to help. So some good tips when you're doing a job interview: be confident. Don't shy away. Try to avoid ums and uhs when they talk to you. Be concise and consistent and just say what's on your mind. Tip number 2, prepare as best you can. Study the people you're about to work for. Look at their mission statement, because sometimes when they come in and they say, hey, why do you want to work with us? You can say, well, I read your mission statement, which said, and you can quote that thing word for word and say, you know what, that touched me. That is beautiful, and that is a company I want to be a part of. Even if it's a fast food joint, if you're checking into that and you're doing background, and not just mission statement, but look at their overall values, look at the way they do business. There's a lot of things on the internet there's a huge source for you to be able to look into and dig into about wherever you may be applying. So especially when it comes to the interview, make sure you're knowledgeable of the business, because every once in a while you will get it. And I did. I had a job interview one time and they said, do you know what our mission statement is? And I had to say, no, I don't. I'm sorry. Not the best answer. Did it cost me the job? Probably not. I don't think most people would, but it might have gotten me the job if I had said, well, actually, I looked it up. It was obviously important to him. And so that was some really good points I could have scored that I didn't. Look professional, especially if you're going for an interview. Potential career choices and options and being able to make a living, it doesn't compare to, being artistic. Well, I like the way I look, so I won't compromise. Get over yourself. Another tip for you in a job interview: never badmouth your previous boss, because when people hear that, they're going to assume that one day that may be them as you move on to another job, that you're talking bad about them. Nobody likes somebody who badmouths their last boss, and this especially gets tricky for a lot of people when the question comes up, why did you leave your last job? Which is a fairly common question. So you need to think before you go into the job interview, because I know many people will have a personality conflict or a disagreement, and that will terminate that working relationship. Or the boss, he comes down and, well, that wasn't fair. I didn't do anything, and he fired me, even though he sat me down 3 times and told me to stop doing what I was doing, but it wasn't fair. Make sure that you have something nice to say about your previous employer, and make sure that you have a way of explaining your departure from that place, not in such a negative light as often the end of working relationships are. Be on time. That's it. Be on time. Be honest. This can be a challenge, especially whenever they're asking you specific questions, that you may not want to answer or give them the truth about. For instance, why did you leave your last job? Well, I decided I needed some other opportunities. That's a little vague, and it's probably not honest if your boss sat you down 3 times and eventually fired you because you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing. A difficult question, and I mentioned this one in the opening: what would you say is your greatest weakness? Here's the thing you need to remember. In most situations, any weakness can also be a strength, and any strength can also be a weakness. It depends on the way that it's applied. For instance, that person's really stubborn. Stubborn people push through and accomplish much because they don't let go when they feel like they're right. The proper application of a stubborn nature is finding things of value, things that matter, things that are important, and pushing through no matter the resistance. However, if you're a stubborn person, you're very petty, and you're just one of those people that always have to be right even when you're wrong, that's a bad application of stubborn. One of my greatest weaknesses: I'm a 90% kind of guy. I'm very efficient and effective, and I can multitask in a broad area of things. Now, the reason this is a minus, so you see I've already painted this as a positive. The reason this is a minus is because my attention to detail sometimes suffer, so that I can move on to the next thing and accomplish more. To accomplish more work. So I find that in situations where attention to detail is very important, that sometimes I struggle in those areas. I've been honest. I've actually exposed a weakness to them, and this is even something they may sit back and think, okay, attention to detail may be a minus, but I've also counteracted that, showing the positive that I'm able to multitask and accomplish a lot. 90% is excellent. I will be an excellent employee with my lack of attention to detail. Another thing you should prepare for, this is my last tip for you. Most interviews, they will ask you, do you have any questions for us? Prepare some questions. This shows that you have been thinking, that you're interested, and that you're looking ahead. And so those questions may have to do with the work. Don't ask, do I get off holidays? Am I going to get a lot of vacation time? How many perks are there involved if I work for you? Do I have to wait before I get those perks, or do they start immediately? Ask honest questions that don't have to do with positives or you getting out of work. So a question may be, do you have a retirement plan? And if so, does the company do any matching of that retirement plan? That's a beautiful question. A lot of companies do have retirement plans, some do not. But if you're asking that, that means that, and this is a wonderful question too, because this means that you may even be willing to retire with this company. Now, whether you really are willing to retire with this company or not, that's kind of the implication. If you have a retirement plan, then this is somewhere where I could see myself in 20 years retiring. Employers love the idea of a good employee that's there for 20, 25, 30 years. Think about what questions you might have for them as far as the job goes, as far as the company goes, as far as your working relationships, and be prepared to ask at least one, if not two. You probably don't want to do more than 3 questions, and make them intelligent questions that are forward-minded, that's going to engage the interviewer. I've had a number of varied experiences in job interviews. Here's a big don't. I went to a job interview at one point, and the manager, it was a little unusual, but the manager said, I trust the people that are around me, so I'm going to have them come talk to you. They can ask you questions, you can ask them questions, and then I trust their judgment and their recommendations. So, he departed, and 4 of them came in, and we got to talking. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is a little more relaxed. I mean, these are the people that would be my coworkers. And one of the guys was telling, about the duties and the things that they do. And he says, one of the things that we do is blah, blah, blah. And I went, you said doo-doo. And he goes, I did. And the room was engulfed in silence. After a few moments, we continued on with the discussion like it had never been said, when another person started talking a few minutes later and says the same thing. One of the things that we do is, and he stops and goes, I said doo-doo. Nobody laughed. Needless to say, I didn't get that job. Potty humor, even if it's a more relaxed environment, not recommended. Although, to be honest, with my sense of humor, it's probably for the best they didn't hire me, because I don't think it would have ended well to be in a humorless culture like that for me. An early dream of mine used to be a firefighter, because I liked helping people and being a hero. And so I was like, that's awesome. And so I was in my 20s, and and had my long flowing locks. Even then, you had to do a intelligence test, then you had to do a physical, and then you had the interview. And you only did the interview if you passed those other 2 tests. I took the test, and I dressed up a little bit, but I wasn't trying to impress them at that point with my appearance. And then the physical, I went and did the physical, and I passed all of that. I ran and lifted and did all the things that they required me to do. And then was the time for the interview, and I thought, there's no way they're going to hire me with this long hair. It's not professional, and I know that it probably would get in the way of some of the gear. And so because I had the interview and I'd already made it past 2 of the 3, and there was still about 12 of us left in the running, which is pretty big, but I was kind of judging that I was probably at least in the top 3. I felt fairly confident about how I was doing. And so I went into the interview. Before I went into the interview, I went and I got a nice short business haircut. Well, I walked into the interview. There are some very competitive jobs where they will have a panel of people that will interview you. And often this is to kind of put you under pressure, see how you respond, and they want it to be very professional and rigid, like I said, to see how you're going to perform in that kind of atmosphere. And in this specific one, there were 4 people who were there to interview me, and there was one guy, I'm pretty sure his job was just to be intimidating. He just stared at you the whole time. Maybe he blinked. I don't know. I didn't see him blink. He just looked mad. But here's the thing, he had been a part of the process before, and when I walked in with my hair all cut short, his first impression of me was, his physical response to his first impression of me as I walked in was, that ruined it. I didn't find him intimidating at all after that. He glared at me the whole time, and it was kind of like, dude, I saw you jump. You're not bothering me. As it turned out, I didn't get that job. I still feel like I did fairly well. There was a police officer who was already a city employee that transferred over, and to be honest, the guy was in better physical condition than me, so if he did even moderately on his intelligence, I can see why I didn't get picked. But You know, that's what happens when you're looking for jobs. You don't always get the job. You put out a lot of nets, you put out a lot of bait, and then you see what comes in. One last story about my interview. I had an interview one time, and I was asked the question, what are you looking for in a job? To that, I responded very seriously. Really, I'm willing to do just about anything, but I'm looking for something that I can earn about $60,000 a year and only work about 20 hours a week. It worked in that job interview because it made them all laugh, and they're like, let us know when you find it because we're going to get in line behind you. Being funny and saying things like that doesn't always work, but in my case, and here's the thing you got to remember with job interviews, you need to be able to think on your feet and just roll with it, you know. And in that case, you know, I had nothing else. So when he said, what are you looking for in a job? Because honestly, this was a job at a fast food joint when I was like 19 years old. I didn't have a lot of experience. I hadn't had a lot of work. And so when he's asked me, what am I looking for in a job? The truth is money. I don't want to flip burgers. I'm not interested in sweeping floors and mopping and cleaning bathrooms, but if it pays money, I'll do it. So, you know, to try to say that in a little more romantic fashion, I just kind of made a joke out of it. When you're looking for jobs, network. I mean, the more people that you know, the better off that you're going to be. It is kind of a sad state of things, but oftentimes jobs are who you know. So don't burn bridges. Make sure that you're friendly and you get along with others. And when you're looking for a job, let people know. Put that out there and begin to network. And, you know, good things may happen because of that. So good luck on your job searching efforts. Well, thank you guys for checking out this vlog. I hope that it was helpful. You guys are awesome and incredible, and there is a plan for your life, and I hope this maybe helps a little bit with that. Until next time, bye-bye.